Word. Was that delicious? Oh my God. Sheila, Dave, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Lacey, Jesse, Brian, David, welcome back. We are so glad. John, thank you so much for being here. We love you guys more than words could ever express. We rock. We have a rockin' community. Literally and collectively, we are pretty amazing. And I am not just saying that. It is true. I've been to a lot of communities, and I can tell you, and there's no measurement or judgment here, but we rock. We do. Welcome to Soul Center. This is our time to our weekly attitude enhancement. And some people say it's an attitude adjustment. When I was young and in summer camp, there was this kind of slang expression when somebody had a bad attitude. They say, "Oh, you're throwing some tood here." And tood, the suffix of tood is just a state or a condition of beingness. Gratitude is a state or a condition of a deep and abiding and devotional appreciation. Plenitude is the state or condition of being in a field of infinite supply, that you know God is your source and your supply. Magnitude is a consciousness of knowing that it's bigger than we could ever imagine. So we're here to adjust our tudes, our attitudes, to raise into gratitude and plenitude and magnitude, and all of the other tudes that we're going to get to. But before we do, I want to welcome anybody who might be here for the first time. If you're here for the first time, I want you to go ahead and just give me a little raise out if you're here for, welcome. Thank you. Welcome to Soul Center. We're part of the Agape Association of Communities, the Agape International Spiritual Center, now in Beverly Hills, formerly of Culver City. Is continuing to grow, as are we. And what does that mean? The Agape Association of Communities, Agape International, is part of the New Thought movement with our brothers and sisters and all of the various New Thought spiritual centers around the globe, which means that we're all tied to that golden thread of truth and love and grace, that it is the absolute capital T truth teachings that we focus on that come from a multitude of different places. That multitude comes from the mystery schools of Judaism and Christianity and Islam and Buddhism and Hinduism and shamanism and all of the other truth teachings that maybe I haven't mentioned. But in the mystery schools, we start to look at one of the very things you're going to look at when you move into the mystery teachings is you're going to look into the aptitude. There's an aptitude, a divine aptitude. An earthly aptitude is somebody who has a gift for something, like our beautiful musicians and band. They have a gift. There's an aptitude for music. There's aptitude. Some of us have real aptitudes for science or math or the arts. And those aptitudes are directly in connection with our purpose and our passion. So that earthly aptitude, we want to know about that. We want to tap into that. And one of the best ways to tap into our earthly aptitudes and kind of orb them out and flush them out is to also tap into the divine aptitude. The divine aptitude is that something that everybody has. There's not one person on the planet that isn't connected to the divine aptitude, that knowingness that the omnipotence and the omnipresence and the omniamorous light of God is everywhere in everything and everyone, but most importantly within you, within me, individually and collectively. We come here on a Sunday morning in a field that is to amplify, and if I'm doing my job right, and if we're doing our job right, we are expanding our capacities to hold more life force, more good, more wellness, more joy. Now, it doesn't matter where we are in the journey. Most of us have committed the sin, and by the sin I mean mistake, of falling into lack or limitation. And you'll know you're in lack or limitation by the dashboard of your awareness. The dashboard, just like your car, and they're so fancy now. On all the cars, they're getting so fancy, they can tell you your right passenger side tire is low. It's very helpful to have that information. Used to be just, one of your tires is low, and you had to just figure it out. Go around and look. They tell you exactly which one. I'm sure they're going to get to the point where it'll tell you, and it only needs about 20 more PSI, and you'll be good. Well, there's an aptitude within us that knows how to navigate, but most of us commit the sin, the mistake, because that's all that word means. Want to take any edge off of it? I know some of us are recovering from some religious teachings that might suggest that we're born of original sin. And that's actually a misconstrued understanding of what that even means. It just means that there's been some mistakes along the way. Okay, what do you do when you make a mistake? You regroup. You regroup and you align. But sometimes we forget to regroup. We forget to check our tudes, our attitude. And we want to check into that tude, as the theme of the month is gratitude as a way of life. And so even though it is for November and we have Thanksgiving coming up, which is one of my favorite holidays, because it does celebrate, and November has kind of become, at least in the U.S., a time of celebrating gratitude and thanksgiving. But as the title suggests, it's a way of life. And gratitude is a creative energy. It creates. And so we want to tap into gratitude. And sometimes it's like, just darn it, you know what, I'm not wanting to be grateful right now, because I'm in a pissy mood. Well, what we want to do then is kind of just take a little observation, check in, and say, oh, okay, so I'm in a pissy mood, kind of like I think it was the writing was saying. You just have to become aware, and then you have to make the moves to adjust that, to have an attitude enhancement, adjust our tude, and move into that space of gratitude. One of my favorite ways to do that is forget about the things that you're grateful. Well, don't forget about them. But sometimes it's not like you have to conjure up what you're grateful for. There's lots of things to be grateful for. But sometimes you just want to evoke gratitude. What does the energy frequency of gratitude feel like when it courses through your bones and veins? What color is gratitude? What does it smell like? What does it look like? There is a code that is an energy of gratitude. When you get into sacred geometry and you start understanding the codes behind all of the things that come into manifestation in life, you start to understand there's actually, if you could dial it up, you say, oh, okay. Just like Einstein came up with the theory of relativity and the code, E equals mc squared, something like that. And there's a code for gratitude. And so you could just let me just dial that in and pull up gratitude, and you'd start to see it unfurl and matriculate through your own beingness and your own bones. And so we can do that. It will probably then, once it starts coursing through you, it will start to evoke the things that you are grateful for. But gratitude all unto itself is a magnificent energy. So to be in a meditation of gratitude, because we all know that prayer and meditation are the cornerstones of spiritual life. And so, it was Paramahansa Yogananda who said, and I want to make sure I get it right, that spiritual poverty, not material lack, is the source of all suffering in the world. Spiritual poverty, our inability, our unwillingness to have a spiritual practice, is the source of all suffering, not material lack. And a lot of us put the cart before the horse, and we try to say, oh, but if I just have these material things, when I'm feeling a little better, when I have more money, when I have that bauble, then I can really get going on my spiritual practice, because then I'm going to feel more comfortable. And it's the absolute reverse, because it's not seeing is believing, it's believing is seeing. We all know that. You've heard that probably several dozen times. We know that as a key tenet. Prayer and meditation, those are the gateways, the portals to the feeling, to the knowing. And so to make that something that's important to you, where you're saying, yeah, you know what? Because prayer and meditation, they're not dull. They're dull and rote when they're dull and rote. And so many of you have ever been to, I've been to some church services and some seders where they're going through and they're reading the prayers out of the prayer book and like, it's kind of like, oh God, when is this going to be over? Because it's gross, it's not alive. And in our practice, we use affirmative prayer because we're activating something and then we're letting it live through us. And as we're going through in our prayer class right now, as it comes to a conclusion, but there will be another prayer class coming up soon because we are grooming our community as we prepare to grow. We are growing into a place where what we do in the New Thought community is we enfold our people, those who are willing, into spiritual growth. We give you the keys to the kingdom. I don't want to tell you about how the mysteries of the world work. I want you to know how they work through an experience. I've had many experiences that have just blown my mind. When you start to commune with the energies of the world, like George Washington Carver, who communed with the plants and the peanuts and was revealed the secrets. And when that first time that happened to me, when I was starting to, the plants were starting, you feel, oh my God, am I going crazy? What's going on here? And it's like, but they're talking to me, not from the crazy voices over there, but when they reveal a mystery, then you know you're not crazy. You know you're not crazy. And one of the things we also want to become aware of is our body. Our body has mysteries. We have the keys to unlock the mysteries. And if anybody is going through a physical challenge, I want to implore you that patience is one of the very first things that is going to accelerate growth into anything. Patience will accelerate growth into anything. Faith and optimism, if we, again, get into the energy of faith and optimism, like, okay, what are those like? I want to bathe in faith. I want to bathe in optimism. And you evoke them. That's what we do. When you come to a service here, part of the reason we do a prayer is because we're doing an evocation. An evocation is an evoking of energy. And in our case, it's an evoking of divine eternal energy. We evoke that energy, and so depending where your vibrational frequency is at any given time, because if you've ever read any of Esther Hicks' books, and she's kind of got this scale anywhere from down from deep, dark depression up to the highest form of bliss, and sometimes we're somewhere in the middle there. And so we have to kind of gauge where we are, and then start to move up into the higher vibrational frequencies, and so we evoke them. But would you believe, you're not going to believe this, you are not going to believe that some people say, I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time to pray. I don't have time to evoke bliss. I don't have time. Oh, really? Well, I think that might just be an erroneous misperception coursing through the neural net of your brain and telling you a big fat lie. And we don't want big fat lies in our life. We want big fat truths. We want big fat truths to be coursing through our beingness. And it really is, humans make things complicated. It's just wild how we can make things complicated. It really isn't complicated. When you say, I am going to set my sights, I call it my North Star, a brilliant light of God, on the truth of whatever it is that I am seeking to embody, understand, feel, or know, then I'm going to pull myself out of suffering from my limited perceptions of the material world, and I'm going to bring myself into spiritual prosperity. Spiritual prosperity coursing through your veins starts to present bliss. And bliss is what we're here to experience. We all want to experience bliss. And so I am charging all of those specifically in the prayer class, but also all of you here. You can get the Catherine Ponder book. It's just been so absolutely well received in our class, everybody, and the dynamic laws of prayer, and also the what's the one by Ernest Holmes? It's Can We Talk to God? These are things that we want to start to cultivate in our beingness. Those of you who are in the Course in Miracles, where it's like, okay, one of the best things we can ever do when we grab a hold of a work that has the vibrational frequency of wisdom and truth in it is say, I'll embody that, I'll do that, I'm willing to allow that, because all it's going to do is evoke something within you that remembers the absolute truth. And we want to tap into that. We want to tap into that so that we can move into some of the other tudes. The quietude and the solitude. Those are the two tudes we want to start with to bring us into plentitude and gratitude and magnitude. And these will fortify us. We will be in a state of fortitude because we want to allow that. And these are feelings that we want coursing through our bones and veins. And when you are blissed out by the call of your soul and not by the limited pleasures, as it was kind of referenced to in the reading, there's some kind of idea that like, oh, there's these little pleasures over here. I'm going to go get myself one of those Haagen-Dazs, whatever it is, and get a little bit of pleasure. That little sweet pleasure you're going to get there, no offense if you love that, but it's not going to do you, it's not going to have the magnitude of bliss in your beingness that's seeking the kingdom of heaven in your own life as the sweetness of life. There's a sweetness of life that is better than you could ever imagine. And so our job in our community, as we hand you the keys to the kingdom, and as we offer these classes, it is precisely to keep you orbed in the attitude of ever-expanding good. Do we hit a bump in the road sometimes? Do we stub our toes? Yeah, once in a while we do, and those stubs and those bumps are part of, the suppressed energies of lack and limitation. Because as you've heard me say before, can you remember all of the choices that you made on August 3rd? Can you remember the choices you made on August 3rd? Can you remember all the choices you made yesterday? Probably not, because we're operating from 10% of our consciousness, and we have to be very keen and understand what we mean with our vocabulary words, because somebody say like, oh, is he awake? Is he conscious? And we're talking about lower C consciousness there. That's the surface mind. Oh, I'm awake. But are you awake? Are you in capital C consciousness? Capital C consciousness is what takes you to the mysteries. So no matter what ailment is going on, there's a way. There is a way to transmute that and transcend it. No matter what lack or limitation on, there's a way. Sometimes, I gotta tell you, sometimes you gotta be patient. And like I said before, patience, I want all of us to just take just drink a big old goblet of patience. Because patience is one of the cornerstone energies. We've become a little impatient in our world today. We want immediate gratification. So we want immediate gratification. I mean, have you ever seen, I remember I was pushing an app on my phone and it didn't open quite fast enough. What's going on? That's impatience. And it's can you imagine? I think it took all of 2 seconds. And so sometimes the world of effects grabs us in there, but we want to have our practices where it's yes, I wake up in the morning and it is fun. I wake up, an hour before I need to get anywhere. And right now, let's take advantage. We just fell back. You just gained an hour. So let's take advantage of that. I wake up an hour, we have to go anywhere, and I do my meditations, my intentions, my prayer, my readings of upliftment and expansion. And as we move into our spiritual toolbox, we're kind of looking, because one day my reading is what gets me going. One day it's my prayer. One day it's my meditation. But we want to start orbing those things out so that we're bathing in a ceaseless supply of high vibrational frequencies. I want to eat high vibrational food. I want to listen to high vibrational conversation and music. I want to see high vibrational things so that when I come in contact with a low vibrational thing, I don't get sucked in. It was really hard. One of my dear, dear, dear friends recently, she is a practitioner of truth, and she moved. She moved out of the city into a rural place, and she was starting a new adventure in life. And she was just kind of getting set up in her new apartment, and her beloved, beautiful dog was with her. And she was kind of getting new friends, and she had one good friend up there already. And all of a sudden, she went to lunch it was just the other day, and while she was gone, her apartment went up in flames. The entire thing, including her beloved, beautiful dog. And she had gone to lunch, and I'm not going to go into any more of the details, except that that's one of those things that sometimes it kind of rocks your world. She hadn't quite got the insurance settled yet. So there's no insurance to cover all of the brand new furniture that was just put into the apartment. And there's really no money in the world that can replace her beloved dog, because her dog was a soulmate. So it was a little devastating. And so when we are fortified, then we can be there. And sometimes the prayer is, I'm here. I'm just here with you. I'm here with the present. We know that life is eternal. We know that. But do you feel it? Do you experience it? It comes up a lot when we're with people at the time of transition. When people are transitioning, you're going to find out what you know about transition by how you feel about it when it's happening. I've been with dozens and dozens of people at the time that they crossed over. And when people cross over, and there's a lot built into our society where we don't want to look at those things. I don't want to talk about transition right now. I don't want to talk about death and dying. Like, why would I do that? And it's like, well, we don't want to be individuals that avoid things. That's part of life. It literally is part of life, the transition time. And that time when we do transition can be glorious. It can actually be a blissful celebration. If you are open to the portal when transition comes along, and I've been with probably about a half a dozen people that were completely open to the transition portal, and they were blissed out of their gourd. They saw the relatives and things that come, the angels that are there. There's a grace that holds you and allows you to move from one dimension to the next, from life to up to our eternal next chapter of life. That's available, but most of us are conditioned to think that it's the end of something and that it's bad. And some of us, as they travel through that journey, they fight. And it's because of the fear that we fight. And so that same thing, those energies that we use when we are through the process of transition, we do the same thing with just about every other part of our lives, but we've maybe lesser qualified them. And so we want to go ahead and we want to start to check in on those things, and we don't want to avoid things, and we do want to open up. And like this friend of mine, like right now, all that we need to do is just hold her there and be there and hold a place, hold that space. And that's why in our community we have practitioners that hold vigil in our services and things like that, which is where we're going. We're getting our chaplaincy program up so we can have chaplains holding vigil and grow and expand. We're doing awesome the way we are, but we're just going to increase our bandwidth to hold more light as we get into our new building, as we get into our new programs and everything like that. So we're just going to focus on the eternality of ever-expanding good by just turning in with our tubes right now. And so I'm going to invite you to join me as we move into prayer. And however you would like to participate with this, but we're going to go into an evocation. We're going to go into an evocation, so it's, there's a real fine line between meditation and prayer, and we're going to go right into that fine line right now. We go into that fine line by taking a moment as we turn within to open our hearts, our bodies, our minds, our souls to the benevolent and infinite grace, beauty, bliss, joy, wisdom, intelligence, that divine intelligence that knows how to birth and collapse a star, to bring a galaxy into existence, to hurl an asteroid across the cosmic sky. That same intelligence that knows how to have the ant crawl across the ground, to have the flower bloom and emit fragrance, to grow the trees in the forest that are all interconnected, to have the wisdom of the trees and the plants and the animals that can talk to us, that divine light intelligence that is omnipotent, that is omnipresent, that indwells within us, the great remembering of knowing that each and every one of us, we have the full divine aptitude within our beingness to access all the mysteries of the world, should we so choose. And we choose today in an elegant, in a beautiful, and in a spacious way, with no urgency whatsoever, with absolute calm and quietude. We open into this space, and I invite you to feel the energy of plenitude. Just open to it. Feel plenitude coming down into your beingness, rising up from within your bones. Feel the energy of benevolent, beautiful, eternal, divine plenitude, all needs met, flowing through you. You have more than enough time, more than enough money, more than enough resources. We open to that. We open into the energy of magnitude, the magnitude of the divine. We allow ourselves to be in that field of infinite magnitude that knows no boundaries, that is pure brilliance, pure benevolence. We open into the magnitude of our own magnificence, our own divinity, that we feel and know and see and love ourselves as God sees, knows, loves, and feels to, through, and as us. We open to that, and we open into the energy of gratitude. I invite you to feel the energy of gratitude, its color, its fragrance, its taste. We open to the energy of gratitude, the symbols, the signs, the energy. Allow it to course through your beingness. And I am so grateful to know that these energies, as they fortify us, and we move into a fortitude, knowing that there is nothing that is against us and everything is for us. We open into a fortitude that allows us to feel faith and optimism and joy and divine expectancy. Each and every one of us says yes to this in this field of light, and I am truly, truly grateful to know that something wonderful has happened. We have allowed our attitudes to grow and glow and expand in benevolent and beautiful ways. We allow our new norm to be ever-expanding good. And it is from a place of deep and abiding appreciation, deep and abiding faith, optimism, and joy, devotion, that we release this prayer into the law of creation that is no respecter of persons, but only knows how to fulfill itself. And we choose for that to be benevolent and beautiful. Right here, right now, we claim it in our being, in our bones. We let it be by saying, and so it is. And so I let it be. Amen. Amen. Ashe. Aho. Shalom. Hotep. And hallelujah. Yes. We hear that. Cultivate the divine. We're going to cultivate plenitude right now. Our time of offering, remembering that as we prepare for our offering, as the ushers come forward, that we are not giving from a limited resource. As we move into plenitude, into that vibration, as we give it, we shall receive it. And so we are giving from a place knowing that this comes back to us minimally 100-fold. I would charge everyone here to practice the art of circulation in its highest vibrational form in prayer. And so we allow that energy to flow and circulate, and we let the ushers go forth and participate in that as music comes up. Thank you very much.
Great. Everyone, thank you, Reverend Keith. I'm going to sing you guys a song from a book called The Radiance.